Assalamu alaikum. Today's tutorial is going to be about pivot tables and how to create some basic data analysis pivot tables in Excel. Pivot tables are really useful tool. Many people know how to make them. It's very easy, but those who have not tried actually have a kind of fear to on creating pivot tables, and that's why they never even try to actually use that feature. So what I'm going to actually teach you is how to create very basic pivot table with some numerical data as well as non-numerical data to analyze the data in different way, to consolidate the data in different ways, and then get the results very quickly rather than using some if conditions. So let's go.
Here I have two examples today. In the first example, I have some months, city, products, and sales accordingly. The months and cities are multiple, they are overlapping, some products are overlapping, and I need to consolidate the data in this first example. The second example that I will show you is having no numerical data, and it's just a record of teams which won the matches in different months. In the multiple months, multiple matches were done and different teams won those matches, and we can actually consolidate this data using pivot tables as well. Let's go back to example 1. So let me show you first of all on how to run. This will be the case for most of you guys, that you will have a lot of data, a lot of numbers, and maybe you need to consolidate that data. So to do this, you go to insert. While your data is selected, I can select here, or if it is already formatted as table, then that's also acceptable. You select pivot table. Now pivot table is selecting this data. I will say it's going to be in a new worksheet, send that data. So when I send this, it shows me all those columns that I had in my Excel table here as well. Main thing I have to look is that, okay, which of these columns should be shown as a column, should be shown as a row, and should be shown as a value, and later on I can apply any filter on those as well. Let's say I want to actually see the data against city, that for which city brought in the maximum sales. So if I drag in the city as rows, then what will happen is all the cities are now appearing as separate rows. And then if I bring in the sales into the values column, then by default what it's showing me is the sum of the sales against those cities. So this is the very quickly, this is what a pivot table allowed me to do, that against a certain item it actually consolidates any numerical value. So against a city, the sum of the sales. I could have put the city in columns, and then I would be able to see the same data in a different format, that now the cities are in columns, Karachi, Lahore and Pindi are in columns, and I am seeing the value of sums. So actually either rows or columns, either one of these is essential, and a value field is essential to generate a table. Now I can also see, if I want to create a matrix of data, that I want to see the products in rows, city in columns, and the values here, then I will drag my product in the rows, and now it is showing me, it is representing the same data in a matrix format, that now my items or products are in rows, apple, banana, oranges, and accordingly it's showing me that in Karachi how many of those got sold, in Lahore and in Pindi how many of those got sold. So pivot table analyzes the data and lets you analyze the data in different formats while consolidating that data. If you want, I can even add the month column, and then it's going to further divide the data, that for apples because the apple's product is on top. So first it's grouping all the data based on the product, which is apples, bananas or oranges, and then based on month. So for apples, the sub total is 15. So in January, no apples were sold within Karachi, but there were 92 apples sold in Lahore. In Pindi, there were 0. In February, there were 15 in Karachi, 0 in Lahore, 0 in Pindi. And in March, 18 were in Pindi, but nothing in Lahore and Karachi. So in this way, actually, I'm able to analyze my data in any way that I like. I can add two things to be summed up, two things in rows, multiple things in rows, multiple things in column, any way you like the data. Now let me remove this for now, remove field. If you click these small arrows, you will get more options as well. Okay, you can directly move them to filter labels, rows or columns, remove the field, as well as go to value field settings. So if I go to value field settings, by default it will apply for a numerical thing, it will apply the sum method. If it was a non-numerical thing, then it will apply the count method. You can apply average as well. So what average is going to do, it's going to tell me that apples in Lahore sell an average of 68, and in Karachi it sells for 67, bananas sell for 67.5, or in Karachi it sells for 15. So it tells me the average sales that happen in a month for that city. So in some months it might be zeros, in some month it might be 100. It will do the average and tell me now the average of that sales of that product in that city. Go to value field settings, and then I can take max as well. What it will tell me is that within these cities, if I want to remove the city, I can remove the city. Let's do this. So maximum of sales. So apples, the maximum sale that I ever achieved for apples was 92. If I go back to my actual example and filter for apples, you can see here that I did multiple sales for 24, 15, 18, 19, 92. So the maximum of these sale was 92, and that's what this table is telling me for everything. Again, you can do it manually by looking at the data, but no need to analyze these things manually. You can create a pivot table to actually see these things. So there are other analytics or mathematical functions as well, and that is what you can use to actually show the basic pivot table. So that's example 1. Now let's go to example 2. The method is very similar. Once your table is selected, you go to insert pivot table. Okay, so then if I just go 1 by and I pull it in the values, count of 1 by, it's showing me 12. Now what I want to achieve is I want to see which team won how many matches in total over a period of January to May, which team actually won most matches. So both my data and my count is in the same column, which is column B. So what I have to do is I will drag 1 by in both rows and the columns field. So the end output that I received is that against the same 1 by team, because it's counting how many times team 1 gets repeated in this example. So if I filter manually for team 1, I can see that it's repeating 5 times, and that's what this count is telling me. Team 1 is 5 times, team 2 is 4 times, and team 4 is 3 times. So whichever team 3 was has 0 wins and not being populated here because it has no wins at all. And now what I have achieved is seeing that what was the win statistics for each team and which team by the end of the term season was the winner of the matches. So even I don't have to actually apply this on numerical data. For my simple count function can apply on text field as well. If I try to do sum, then it is not going to work. Sum function does not work on or even other mathematical functions will not work on your text based data. So similar way, I can actually select in the columns and see a matrix as well, that in which month I can see now that in which month who won the data, who won the matches. So in January 2, February 1, April 1, May 1, and then by grand total is 5. So that was the quick method on how to actually analyze the data using pivot tables. I urge you to explore other options that are available within pivot table by yourself, and if you need any help, then please leave a message in the comments below. Thank you.